Hi, this is ASAZIIA KRICHENA and you're watching Legal Bites. Each and every child deserves a childhood, and no one in this world has the power to take that away from them. Section 2 Subclause 2 of Child Labour Prohibition and Regulation Act of 1986 defines child. It means a person who has not completed his 14th years of age. According to the census of 2011, India has over 10.1 million children working, and this has gone up in infinite numbers during the pandemic. The 5 states in which child labor is predominantly seen are Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and Madhya Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh has the most elevated number of child labor, about 20% of India's total child labor. Today, we will be talking about the causes of child labor, consequences of child labor, constitutional provisions and other legislations that governs child labor, some case laws and some suggestions on child labor. Let us first look into some major causes of child labor. Despite having countless legislations at international and national levels, we find no end to child labor. The most common reasons include economic hardships, illiteracy, gender discrimination, overpopulation, human trafficking, migration, and many more. We shall now talk about the consequences of child labor. A large number of child labor not only tarnishes the global image of the nation, but also harms the economic system. It has a nasty effect on the adult employment ratio, as child labor is cheap and adults are deprived of jobs. In terms of the physical state of children, they are not prepared for long hours of tiring work as they become more easily depleted than grown-ups. This diminishes their states of being and makes them prone to diseases and disabilities. Also, those who work rather than going to class will stay uneducated, which limits their capacity to add to their prosperity and get into better positions in life. Various studies held in the rural areas reveal that families choose to have more children despite the utter poverty, as they believe that more members help them earn much higher, which is not true in reality. This not only increases population but also increases unemployment and reduces resources. These children, when they grow up, become low-wage earners, and because of this, their children will likewise get constrained to work to help the family in their pay. They stall out in this endless loop, and this way poverty and child labor gets passed down from one generation to another. Moving on, we will look into the constitutional provisions. The constitutional makers had a far-sighted view. Hence, various articles were incorporated for the overall development of children and prevent child labor. Article 21A, Right to Education. This article is referred to as the essence of the Indian educational system. It's a fundamental right of every child to receive free and compulsory education till the age of 14. This ensures that basic education is provided to them and no one remains illiterate. Article 24. Prohibition of employment of children in factories. The article strictly prohibits the engagement of children below the age of 14 years for employment in any factory or mine or any other hazardous employment. In the case of People's Union for Democratic Rights versus the Union of India, it was decided that the article doesn't just stick on factories and mines as hazardous activities, but also includes construction activities. Article 39, Directive Principles of State Policy. The article states that the state shall, in particular, direct its policy towards securing the health and strength of workers, men and women, and the tender age of children are not abused, and that citizens are not forced by economic necessity to enter avocations unsuited to their age or strength. We shall now further look into other legislations that governs child labor. First, Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. This act prohibits the use of children in any hazardous labor. Second, the Minimum Wages Act of 1948. This act is a central legislation that aims at statutory fixation of minimum rates of wages in the employments where sweated labor is prevalent, with possibility for exploitation of unorganized labor. Third, the Factories Act 1948. Section 22 of the Act specifies that no women or children will be allowed to clean, lubricate, or adjust any prime mover or any transmission machine when in motion, which may expose them to chance of injury. Section 23 of the Act characterizes that no child is permitted to be employable on dangerous machines. Also, Section 27 of the Act restricts the work of women and children to work in any part of a factory for pressing cotton in which a cotton opener is at work. Fourth, the Mines Act 1952. No person below the age of 18 will be allowed to be present in any part of the mine above the ground where any operation is being carried on. Fifth, the Juvenile Justice Act Care and Protection of Children Amendment Act 2021. This act amended the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2015. This act provides for a special approach towards the prevention and treatment of juveniles and provides a framework for protection, treatment, and rehabilitation of juveniles. Let us now look into some case laws. 1. Laborers working on Salal versus the state of Jammu and Kashmir. In this case, a bench of Justice P. Bakwati and R. Misra ordered that in compliance with the requirements of Article 24 of the Indian Constitution, no child below the age of 14 years should be allowed to be employed in the work of the project. 2. Bachpan Bachao Andolan versus Union of India and others. A study found that children were being trafficked from Nepal or taken from their homes, misused as child workers in bazaars and circuses, and exposed to mental, physical, and sexual exploitation. The Supreme Court acknowledged the issues and ordered the prohibition of the use of children in circuses, rate the same, and provide rehabilitation for them. 3. Uni Krishnan JP and others versus State of AP. It was enumerated that the right of education is implicit in Article 21. Every child up to the age of 14 years has a fundamental right to free education. In the conclusion, let us look into some suggestions on how to end child labor. 1. There seems to be no doubt about the comprehensive, robust legislative framework created for the protection of children in India, and the state must be credited for the same. However, much attention needs to be given towards the implementation, starting at the very grassroots level. At times, it is due to laxity in following the procedural mandates, which has caused grave injustice to most innocents. 2. The dynamics of the evolving human cycle are being taken care of by the lawmakers, as there have been major amendments in the laws relating to children and adolescents, and the process has been under constant metamorphosis. However, the area of imparting compulsory education still needs serious attention, whether it is regular scrutiny of schools or appointment of teachers. 3. It is well understood the importance of providing protection to the children, but it is, however, the rehabilitation of children affected and victimized that needs our utmost attention. Seemingly, statutes such as POCSO reverberate compensation and rehabilitation for the victim and their families, but the reality is grim and often allows the families and the victims to turn hostile and stop cooperating. 4. There have been various instances where the cumbersome process through which the victim or the victim's family has to go through for obtaining rehabilitation and compensation has led to the loss of interest, as the dilatory conduct in administration frustrates the very purpose. 5. The paltry amount of compensation and rehabilitation measures, limited only to the extent of providing legal aid, should not be considered as rehabilitation scheme at all. In fact, measures should be taken to ensure that the victims and their families are counseled and edified in a manner that has a definite bearing on their rehabilitation and social integration. I would like to quote the words of Kirk Grayson: "Our greatest obligation to our children is to prepare them to understand and deal effectively with the world in which they will live, and not with the world we have known or the world we would prefer to have." Thank you for watching the video. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to Legal Bites.